All right. Today we're talking about four Marvel Star Wars issues. So we'll start with issue 60, which is Shira Bree's backstory. Luke and his squad, his Red Squadron, because we've forgotten Rogue Squadron exists. And you know what? I'm okay with it. They consist of a bunch of nobodies and Shira Bree and Luke. They end up going to her homeworld, which has been devastated by these creatures, these warlike creatures, and the Empire. Um, and she was orphaned there, I guess. I say I guess because there's more to it than that, but not in this issue. And we're starting to see why Luke wanted those Tie Fighters. They're doing these guerrilla attacks within Imperial installations. We see that in this and in the next issue. They're utilizing those TIE fighters for that. And I think that's neat to continue that storyline that way. Next, we get to issue 61, which is Luke is attacking this Imperial Armada with Red Squadron, and because the Imperials have a sentient creature that will that it alone has this telekinetic ability to help send messages through space, I guess. It's weird. It's not explained very well. But that's what they have, and the rebels are stopping it. And they have their TIE fighters are equipped with specialty lasers and specialty transceivers on them so they can talk within each other, and the Empire doesn't hear their radio chatter. Okay, neat. Things go wrong though, and Luke essentially has to use the Force to stop to save the day. Cut to issues 62 and 63, which are a two-part story, and we find out spoilers, and I have to spoil. At the end of issue 61, Luke had to shoot a TIE fighter, and he had to use the Force because their communication gets knocked out on all the TIE fighters, even the Rebel TIE fighters. And he senses a darkness, and so he assumes it's an enemy. Turns out he shot down Shira Bree. And he is labeled, as this issue calls him, a pariah. And the rebels are split on whether they should trust Luke or not. He's relieved of command, essentially. Leia secretly keeps him in command, but to show until he can prove that what he did was right, because Leia believes that he felt in the Force that something was dark and wrong, and but she can't openly show it, or else there'll be a mutiny within the rebels. Okay. So Orlando allows Luke to steal the Millennium Falcon with the help of Chewie, and Luke and Chewie go off on a mission because Luke, I guess, senses that something has to do with Shira Bree's homeworld, and we find out that Shira Bree, who said that she spills a little of her blood each year at this monument of her people because all her people died except for her. It turns out that that monument is a secret transceiver to Darth Vader himself. So yes, we have a little confrontation between Luke and Vader briefly in this. And Shira Bree was a plant by the Empire the whole time to make Luke look bad. Because we started to see a little romance between her and Luke. It isn't fully fleshed out because it's Marvel Star Wars between Empire and Jedi. They're not going to fully commit to anything with one of the movie characters. They just won't. It's the downside of Michelini's stuff, really, is he doesn't commit to anything. And these are all David Michelini issues. And he won't commit to things with the movie characters, and it's frustrating. And I don't know if that's his fault or if Lucasfilm was just being that secretive about Return of the Jedi. I'm assuming it's more the latter, simply because when they shot Return of the Jedi, they called it Blue Harvest to hide it, but that was more to... It could go either way, simply because that was also to keep crowds away, because a lot of Return of the Jedi was shot in California. Anyway. What did I think of these issues? I like them, but I don't love them. I like they're going a different direction, and I like they're kind of all... Everything's kind of one after the other sort of deal. Where they aren't standalone adventures. They are and they're not. They're connected. And honestly, I could have done one review and added issues 58 and 59 to that too. But at the same time, the Shira Bree thing, it will lead to something. If she's the character I think she is, I can't remember off the top of my head. It does lead to something else later, and I am all for that. I don't like the use of Luke's lightsaber, and once again, we're using... Luke's force powers oscillate so much, it's ridiculous in these comics. To figure out what Luke's power level is even at. It's so weird. It's so weird, because there's two mindsets with Luke. Last one of these reviews, I talked about the Luke lightsaber conundrum. But we can talk about Luke's force power conundrum. Because up until New Jedi Order, there are two different Lukes. There is Luke who gets nerfed. This is the Bantam era Luke, for the most part. Most of the authors were afraid to use Luke's powers, because, like, what even are they? I mean, Kevin J. Anderson did some cool stuff, and Zahn does some cool stuff, but the rest of them don't... They underpower Luke, or they find some sort of MacGuffin that nerfs Luke in some way. And it's very annoying. At the same time, we have stuff like this, where Luke is OP, but sometimes, because they can't decide what Luke's force powers even are. I don't know if that's Lucasfilm hand-holding or what's going on there, but there's clearly some sort of discrepancy in what Luke's powers are at this time. Because remember, sure, he's gotten some Yoda training, but not a lot. But at the same time, he's declared a Jedi Knight not long after this. All this stuff happens, all these Michelini issues, these between Empire and Jedi, happen in a very short period of time. And I get that Dagobah was about 3 months of Jedi training, and he is the son of the Chosen One. And he got some instruction in both A New Hope from Obi-Wan, and a teeny tiny bit, if you squint at it, in Splinter in the Mind's Eye. Not really dwelled. But he dealt with a Force-sensitive being in that. So, yeah. It's weird. It's weird. I don't... Out of all his Force abilities, trying to sense what's going on from the ship when he used the Force to blow up the first Death Star and aim the missile. I don't mind that. But, like, there's been various times he uses, like, really weird, like, telekinetic Force abilities, usually when flying, to get them out of problems. Or even when he had that, the Crimson Forever virus thing, he was using the Force to quell that. I don't know if he would know how to do that. I'm sure Yoda could have taught him. I doubt Obi-Wan would have, because I think Obi-Wan, most of what Luke's training was lightsaber training from Obi-Wan. I don't know if it was a lot of force abilities. He has a little bit like first force pull and possibly force push, but I don't, like I said, I don't know. He doesn't use a lot of force abilities until after Empire. That's why I'm like, it's very limited on what he should know. And how many things did he learn on Dagobah? The Dagobah stuff has always been rather vague. There's not a lot we do know about his. We know some because there was that Adventures story, and I believe there's stuff in both the comic adaptation and the novelization that flesh that out a little bit, but not a lot. Anyway, what would I rank these? I'd rank issue 60 a 4 out of 5. Issue 61 probably is also a 4 out of 5. And I would go issues 62 and 63 a 4.3 out of 5. They're very good for this. But I think I'm just getting a little fatigued, so I'm trying not to let that impede my reviewing. But it was just a lot of issues of this nature at once, and that always kind of throws me off. So, anyway, have a nice day.